Hello, and welcome to As Built, the Graphic Machine podcast about buildings, architecture firms, and how both get built. I am your co-host, Patience Jones. With me is your other co-host,
Brian Jones.
Thank you for joining us. We are talking about weighing publishing platform options. That's a mouthful.
Sounds really ominous.
Doesn't it? It really does. What do we mean by that? Are we as ominous as we suggest?
I really don't think so. I think that we are talking about, in a firm's marketing strategy, the way in which you utilize your website, your social media, and printed/digital magazines to the benefit of your firm, and like what proportion they should have when each.
Yeah, I think traditionally when we talk about a project being published, that's usually shorthand for in a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many different publishing platforms and different audiences for things that it's really important to understand all those tools, avail yourself of them, and decide which ones are right for your firm and for particular projects.
And I want to underscore what you just said there for particular projects, and that more importantly, even beyond that, is to continue to reevaluate this as you go.
Yeah, this is not like a one and done, here's our formula.
Yep.
You can have maybe like a baseline guide.
Okay.
But there are going to be different needs for different projects. And this came about because we're working with a client who completed a really amazing project that they are not able to share on any platform because they are waiting for it to be published. It has been accepted for publication in a print publication. The issue that it was supposed to be in was delayed. So there's been about a 4-month, almost 6 months now, embargo on being able to show any pictures of this project or talk about this project on their website, on social media, on anybody else's social media. And it's a beautiful project that definitely has an audience for client prospects. And they are really anxious to show it off, but they can't, because that was the deal with the print publication, is we get the first public showing of it. So that is a good example of, okay, for that particular project, I'm asking this question hypothetically without intending to suggest a particular answer from the get-go. But I think the important question to ask would be, for this particular project, what is the importance of having it in a print publication? And are there specific print publications that are more important or less important for who this project resonates with and what this is going to do for our business? If it's really important to have it in a print publication, what does that mean for publication on our own website, on our social media? And in that sort of print embargo, where we're not able to do anything else, are we okay with not being able to show it off in that interim? Is what we get out of the print publication, does it justify the delay for the other forms of publication? And it may. And there may be projects where the potential similar audience of client prospect is so small.
Sure.
You may be doing this sort of once in a lifetime project, and the most important thing is having it published in, record. And that will carry you, not because other people are going to say, oh, I'm in that same situation, I want that, but the status of having it published. There may be other projects that are more accessible, that will help prospective clients say, oh, that firm knows how to do this, that's what I need, I want that firm. And maybe that's where you weigh the benefits of kind of digital self-publication more than the print.
And I think that there's a slight wedge issue into that too, because I think that is really, really important, is to really take it as something that you think about and that you choose, and that the choice has you missing out on something, no matter what you choose.
Yeah.
So, and it the thing that is true about social networks at this particular point in history is that they're driven by interest. So previously you might have had to search by, actively in order to find things. Now they are so aware of what you are interested in. As soon as you express any level of interest in something, they're going to show you more of that because they want to retain you. And so in order to, you know you can use that to your advantage. And so, you are giving that up when you choose to have it published in a higher status publication like Record. And that may be a good trade off. So it's really,
And it's not that, I mean, assuming you haven't agreed otherwise, it's not that you can't share a project on social if you have it published in a print publication. It's just that you may have to wait for a period of time. Sometimes clients have waited a year or two
yep.
because that's how long it takes to get the project photographed, cleared, printed, published, sent out. You're not necessarily giving it up, you're just delaying it.
I think it's also important to think about both in the reach that it has in terms of audience and the amount of time that it has, but also in the way that a project is best conveyed. So a lot of times firms will make the decision to exactly copy the way that they're going to have it published in a magazine, but try and do it on their website or do it in a social post. Those are usually not as effective as you might think. And thinking about a project and how it could be conveyed, maybe this is a particular project where a video walkthrough is actually the best way to showcase so many of the things and decisions that your firm made in making this project successful. Or you incorporate live testimonial from a particular client and what their experience of your project is. That could be a great add-in to that. But it's like, it isn't just the time delay. It's also, there's other opportunities that exist outside of a traditional, magazine platform.
And that can actually be something that you can negotiate with the print publication. If you are intending to publish something on social or your website that is different than what they are going to publish, they sometimes will allow you to do that ahead of publication.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you had a project that you could get drone footage showing the aerial relationship of the project to the site, depending on the publication, they may not have a robust digital presence. They may not want to use anything like that. You're not taking anything away from them by putting that on your site. And they may say, okay, that's fine because we're going to run the staged photos that are, more typical architecture project photos.
Yeah.
But Brian, you're absolutely right. If you go in and you just sort of stand where the photographer stood and you take your own pictures, they're definitely not going to let you.
No.
I mean, you can do that, but then they'll pull it.
Yeah. And I think that another thing that you can think about when weighing the options is really the idea of like, what's the ability to track the impact? And sometimes exposure without tracking is a desired outcome.
Mm-hmm.
But other times it might be helpful to know, did the project reach the audience that you hoped it did? And, it's really hard to beat social, especially at this moment in history, versus a traditional print publication on that front, just because of your immediate ability to understand where a project landed and who it resonated with.
And people don't always pay really close attention. Some people do, but many don't. When they're looking at a print magazine, they're not necessarily going to remember the name of the architecture firm, but they might remember, oh, the house in Dallas with the green marble bathtub. So if you do go the route of print publication, maybe work with the publication to see if you can license some of those photos for use in your social, maybe do some digital advertising using some of the more signature photos because people will visually recognize those photos. Oh, right, that's the firm that did this project that was in
whatever
fill in the blank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think those are all really helpful points. And I think it can't be overstated enough that continuing to reevaluate this on a project by project basis, but also on making sure your baseline is reevaluated pretty regularly too, because this is very much an ecosystem that is in flux, and effectiveness changes all the time, and where you're going to see outcomes and results that are favorable to your firm.
And there's new technology and new platforms all the time. So as we sit here today, these are sort of the three kind of main ways of publishing. But soon there will also be, VR will be more mainstream. So what does that look like?
Yep.
To give somebody an augmented reality experience in one of your projects. So you're right. Definitely don't say, okay, these are the three things, and therefore these are the three things we need to consider for the next 50 years. These are the three things you need to consider now. And at some point, others may be added, some may fall off, but definitely keep reevaluating that.
I think that's really helpful.
Excellent. I think it's helpful too. We are unanimous.
Good.
We have weighed that publishing platform option and decided very useful. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time.